battle. Finally, the battle mode, you have to start with using torches, but then it's eventually we find and success, which is fine, but as ideal as we do for moveset. It has growl. Here's growl. But don't forget that when a Pokemon's power points go down to 0, they can start. You can't use the Pokemon Center without restoring your power. However, I devised a strategy for this. C-Dot. The C-Dot only has 5 at this point, which is the move that returns damage to vehicles their power points on it. Pretty basic stuff. This might yet be possible. Absolutely based a course, man. After we get Growl to 0, it's time to since anything more does way too much damage in addition to the struggle recoil. This is a long and scary grind with Pokemon not letting us escape and almost not making it due to a lack of money and potions, but about an hour later we make it to level 6 where we finally learn Confusion. Keep in mind we still can't hit Dark types with any of our moves, so we avoid the one trainer who has a Poochyena on the next group, and after a few close calls we make it to the Petalburg Woods, where a mandatory Team Magma grunt battle is, and he has a Poochyena. Now that we have Confusion, we have to get rid of 65 power points before we get Struggle, but there's a dilemma. Using Confusion will cause Ralts to get too much XP to the level cap, so we'll be taking Pokemon out of it. However, I realized that we can find Wild Poochyena and use Confusion on them, so it doesn't actually KO them, yet still using the power points. We just have to be careful since they can't hurt us. Once ready with Struggle, we potion up, attach an Aura Berry to Ralts, and attack right away on us. Yikes. Then starts turning up his attack power with Howl, and we bring it down to about a third before we start missing, and he keeps stand attacking us. We just can't seem to hit him, and his attack is getting scarily high, but we land one hit and bring him to the red, after which he hits us hard with Tackle. Our Aura Berry activates, and we keep missing repeatedly, and he gets another Tackle off, but we survive on just 3 HP, after which we finally land a Struggle to take him out. Wow. We just beat a Poochyena with a Ralts who technically has nothing but Growl and Confusion. I can't believe it. After learning Double Team at level 11, running to level 13 on Group 116 against trainers with many close calls, we're forced to go to the Rustboro Gym since our level cap for Roxanne is 15, and our gym trainers have a few Pokemon too. We also can't level up too much for another reason that has to do with our next encounter, but we'll talk about that later. The gym trainers are scary but manageable, and I made it to Roxanne right at level 15. This is it. We have to go for it. I attach an Aura Berry on Ralts and hope for the best. We've got an interesting situation since Roxanne's Pokemon are weak in terms of special defense, but we're weak in terms of physical defense. I realize if we're to have any hope, we can't get hit more than twice, even with the Aura Berry, and that's assuming we don't get crit. Double Team is going to be absolutely necessary no matter what, so I use it once and refuses and misses its first Rock Tooth. I now know that we have to stack up double teams if I'm to have a chance, and miraculously we get max evasion without getting hit. I then use Confusion and it does less than half, after which the Geodude hits us hard with Rock Tomb to lower our speed too. But the Aura Berry restores some good health before we hit the Geodude again and confuse it. After a couple potions from Roxanne, the Geodude goes down, and somehow we still outspeeded despite the drop. The Nose Pass comes out next and starts spamming harder and hits the drop throws, which allows us to bring it down eventually. Now, if you're thinking that was easy, no. I had to reset the challenge from the start after failing 6 times to get a successful Roxanne battle, as even 2 hits could take us down, and even max evasion is not enough to avoid like 10 attacks usually. A combination of a decent nature, hardened defense scroll spamming, and good speed IVs apparently helped us out a lot. First gym badge miraculously acquired. Please let me get out of here. I just want to see the rest of the game. We did have another Team Magma Poochyena battle after this, so we have to waste 80 power points now. Although it was a lengthy process, the Poochyena battle goes on successfully, and now it's time for something interesting and terrifying. North of Dupertown in Granite Cave, there's another encounter we can get, and that we need to get, Abra, which is a 10% encounter. If we don't get this, Ralts will inevitably over-level at some point as soon as we keep doing solo the Duper Gym. Keep in mind that if you don't catch Abra on the first fall, it teleports immediately. We finally find one after like 5 minutes, and at this point, we had a great ball, so the whole run, after all of this work, rests on this one throw, or else it's a wipe. But it catches. We named this Abra Lucky for obvious reasons. Now, it's definitely not over yet. Abra has nothing but teleport, and we can switch train it all the way up to level 16 when it learns Confusion upon activation. The problem is, the Pokemon we're using to switch train it Ralts can't get past level 18, or else the run is over due to the level cap. Years of switch train grinding and having Abra struggle train a little bit to show him the cap, it evolves. We did it, and Rolf is exactly at level 18. The crazy initial setup work to even make this run possible as a baseline is done, and we were honestly lucky enough for League to make this happen. After also getting Abra to level 18 using the gym trainers and making sure we don't have items on either Pokemon since his Concubina has knockoff, it's time to face Brawly. Here, I accidentally led with Rolf when I meant to use the more powerful Kadabra. I used one confusion on his Machop and does over half, and Machop uses Volgo. Knowing that Rolf won't be able to one-hit KO Makujita and that knockoff on the Switch will be brutal, I know I have to switch Kadabra in now, but after that Volgo gets a bit worried. We switch and Machop gets a Karate Chop, which also gets a critical hit to bring us to just 9 HP, but we take it out with confusion. Now we absolutely need a one-hit KO on Makujita, and I wasn't sure if we could do it, but Kadabra is an absolute beast that gets the job done. Now, of course, in a psychic mono-type challenge, the fighting gym is going to be the easiest one that we face, but that is still a bit worrisome. Second match is in the books, and I never thought we'd even get the first. The stretch to the third gym is really scary since there are a lot of trainers, and the level cap for Watson is 23, with both our Pokemon already at level 18. At the same time, we have an intense fight coming up even before the gym, so we have to calculate these levels just right. After beating a couple Pikachu clones, Rolf gets level 20 and evolves into Curlia. While grinding, Curlia also learns Calm Mind, which should actually be quite useful, and Kadabra also learns Psybeam, which is definitely better than Confusion. With both of our Pokemon at level 21, I'm not willing to go any further since we still have to battle the gym trainers too. Hoping that this is enough, it's time for the battle with May. May starts off with a Shroomish, and since it has Stun Spore, I go in with Curlia first, who has Synchronize. I also put a Cherry Berry on Curlia so that its paralysis will be healed, meaning the Shroomish effectively paralyzes itself while we nearly get a free Calm Mind off. I then go for Confusion, and it does over half on Shroomish. Its next Stun Spore misses, and we can take it in with another. Whew, I'm glad that actually works. I wasn't sure. Pinball goes down to 2 boosted Confusions, and in comes the Marshmallow. Now, I'm really worried about this thing since it not only has a physical move in Mudshot, but it also lowers speed, which is not good. Amazingly, it actually misses its first Mudshot, so we can bring it below half. Problem is, the next one lands and hits us hard, well below half, and now our speed has been dropped. We have to switch into Kadabra right above half, but it's still within kill range and it's had its speed dropped. I thought this was it, but miraculously, Kadabra still has speed even after the drop. What an absolute beast this thing is. Into this May battle, complete. But a bigger challenge is yet to come. No, it's not Wally and his stupid brawls, okay? It's the Mauville gym itself. Wally happens to be standing outside of us for some reason. Wally, I respect how strong you eventually became in this series with your level 80s and whatnot, but traveling back in time, you were such a little. Alright, that was undeserved. My anxiety about this gym coming out. The trainers in this gym confirm my fear that field types are a nightmare. I decided to grind both Kadabra and Curlia up to high level 23 for Watson so that they might level up mid-battle, since we're going to need it. Hardcore Nuzlocke rules require that you are at or below the level cap when the gym leader battle starts, so we're all set. Now, I have failed this challenge quite a few times already, and Watson was responsible for about half of those. This battle is not set up for psychic types at all, but I go in with my absolute best strategy I have and hope for the best. My strategy involves putting a Cherry Berry on both Lucky and Violet, since Watson really likes to paralyze. Now, you might be sitting there saying, so why don't you just spam Double Team? Well, Double Team kind of gets harder to use as playthroughs go on, since setting it up is way too busy. But Watson also has Shockwave on his Magneton, which cannot miss, so Double Team doesn't help. Calm Mind is also only really useful offensively, since his Pokemon have Sonic Boom, which does send damage. But we need that attack boost to do anything here. I decided to lead with Curlia against his Magnemite and use the same strategy he used against May. Calm Mind, get Thunder Wave, have Synchronized, activate and paralyze Magnemite, then our Cherry Berry activates Secura. I go for another Calm Mind, and unfortunately the Magnemite breaks through paralysis and goes for Thunder Wave again. I get off another Calm Mind though, and Magnemite gets to start with Sonic Boom before I do less than half with Confusion after all that. But it confuses itself below half, after which we can take him out. Voltorb, and the main board is getting paralyzed or hit by self-destruct. Yes, this thing has self-destruct. Shockwave does little after a Calm Mind, and it nearly takes it out, but it also gets confused. Watson heals it up with a Super Potion, we hit it again, and here I decide to switch it to Kadabra and keep hitting another potion, which does happen. I go for Psybeam with Kadabra, which does big damage and it takes itself out of confusion. We safely got Kadabra on the field, thank God. Now, the Magneton. I go for siding right away, which does essentially nothing, and he Thunderwaves us, which we cure with our berry. I go for disable to disable Thunderwave, which he was indeed trying to go for again. We got a critical hit on our next side beam, and he hits us with Sonic Boom, and then our next side beam barely doesn't take it out. His disable wears off, and he paralyzes us. Uh-oh. It now outspeeds us and hits us hard with Sonic Boom again, but we survive and break through paralysis to get the win. Now you might understand why this took like 6 tries. Between the struggle strategies, Roxanne's battle, having to catch Abra on the first try, and Watson's battle, I had 12 total entire restarts of this challenge to finally get this back. The problem was not only typing, but status and the fact that we can only get 2 Pokemon on us at this point. I have a theory that the game would really open up after this badge, so let's hope that I was correct. Before anything, I decided to use the Shockwave and Watson gave us the Kadabra. We need some type coverage to handle dark types, so it had to be done. Plus, it can't miss, which is nice. Theoretically, our next encounter would be Baltoy in the Route 111 desert, but we can't access any wild Pokemon in there yet without the goggles. We are literally 1 step away from another Pokemon on our team. Can't one just levitate over to us real quick, please? In some good news, Curlia actually learned Psychic at level 26, which is incredible and much earlier than I thought. However, both our Pokemon get to level 27, and our level cap for the next gym is 28, so we need another encounter. One comes to us just in time in the form of Meteor Falls, where we can actually catch a Solrock. We successfully get one, which we nickname Teletubby. I'm sorry, I had to. Please understand. It ends up having a modest nature, which is fantastic for its psychic typing, but really bad for its rock typing. Since secondary typings are way more important since we have plenty of psychic types to work with, this isn't great, but hey, at least we have more than 2 Pokemon now, and we can use it to avoid passing the level cap on the other 2. With Solrock at level 26, it's time to face Maxie. This is as good as we're going to get due to the cap. Maxie is absolutely terrifying for us since he has a Migina, but I've got a bit of a strategy, I think. I leave with Kadabra, who isn't affected by Intimidate, and immediately go for Reflect, hoping it will last for his next Pokemon. Now, the key here is that Migina has Sand Attack, which he does indeed use first, but we have Shockwave after all, which can't miss. He uses Sand Attack again, and he takes it down. Rollback comes in next, and I need to switch to Solrock so we don't level too much. Rock Throw does great damage, but we get confused, and Rollback pushes us twice in a row with Bite. Son of a... I switch back into Kadabra, we tank the Bite, and outspeed with Side Beams to take it down. Handcuff is up next, and I am terrified, but I switch to Solrock, which levitates me to the mute to BakersField. We also resist Ember, but it still does too much, so I send in Violet, who gets hit hard, and we eventually come really close, but he uses the Super Potion, meaning I'm forced to switch into Kadabra. Side Beam just barely doesn't KO, but he goes for Focus Energy, and then a Super Potion, after which we get 2 hits off in a row. Wow, that was a tough battle. It's a miracle we didn't lose anyone. Look at our team, my God. After the events at Mount Chimney, we get favorite psychic types from the earlier gens, so I'm excited about this one. We capture Spoink in a Premier Ball and the entrance Spoink. This thing will make much sense once he evolves, but hey. It also has the Thick Fat ability, which is incredible, as it helps us resist ice and fire moves. In Lava Town, we technically get another encounter, as an elderly woman is kind enough to give us an egg, which will eventually hatch into a Wynot, another psychic type. This guy here is complaining about the ledges making it hard to get back to Lava Ridge after going to Mauville. My dude, watch this. We have the magic power of teleportation, bitches. After training our new encounters up against the trainers in Flannery's gym, and with everyone at level 27 or 28, it's time for a 4th gym battle. Looking at our team online, I remember how our strategy works, and I'm imagining both our new team members will be really useful here. Solrock with its resistances, and Spoink with Big Fat. The key we have to keep in mind is not to let their Slugmas get a light screen or sunny day, or if they do, then definitely stall them out before Torkoal comes in. I lead with Spoink against her first Slugma and go for Psybeam, which actually gets a crit on the first turn. What a start. Psybeam does a good chunk on the second Slugma, but then it goes for light screen. My plan is to confuse the Torkoal anyway, so as long as the sun's not up, I'm satisfied. But our next Psybeam brings us what must be like 1 HP. It misses its Rock Slide, but then Flannery uses the Hyper Potion on it, and Psybeam starts doing almost nothing. I decide to confuse the Slugma, and unfortunately it does get the sunny day up, but the light screen goes down. Another Hyper Potion is used on the Slugma, but a crit takes it out. Not sun's still up. In comes the Torkoal, and I'm pretty scared. I go for the fuse ray right away, and it hits itself. Good. We keep this sun gone. I go for side beam, and it does a laughable amount of damage, and then it goes for a track on us. Regardless, we get another side beam off, but then it hits us with body slam for massive damage. The sun is down now, though, and I need to switch to going to Soul Run. Torkoal snaps out of confusion and goes for body slam, but Soul Run is a perfect counter to resist everything this Torkoal has. We just have to watch out for paralysis. Rock Throw barely doesn't take it out, though, and it paralyzes us with body slam on the next turn. Eventually, an overheat comes in and does massive damage to us despite being resisted, and we live on literally 1 HP. This is why I'm glad we got rid of the sun. Sheesh. Now that we're paralyzed, there is no way I can stay in, but switching Kadabra in is risky as hell. But I have to go for it. I have no other option. Kadabra comes in and my worst nightmare comes true. It goes for body slam, but Kadabra lives on just 10 HP, doesn't get paralyzed, and is able to outspeed and take the Torkoal down with side beams. Splinter used her Hydro Potions on the Slugbuster. Wow, that was absolutely terrifying. Fourth batch acquired, and it cost us nearly everything. Our team is decimated. Along the way, our egg ends up hatching, meaning we now have a beautiful Why-Not added to the team, which we named Because. And I'm thinking it'll be extremely useful for our next gym battle with counter and whatnot. Now that we have the Go Goggles, we can access the desert for a safe encounter also. The problem is, wild ballflies do know self-destruct here, but we're lucky enough to not have it activate, and we catch it and name it Beyblade. It ends up having a jolly nature, plus speed minus special attack, which is not good at all for its psychic typing, but great for its ground typing, so I'll take it. Oh yeah, as much as I love both bosses in this gen, I go for the Root Boss. YouTube commenters, you know what to do. Almost immediately after, I had Why-Not out in front of the party so I could switch trainer, but we end up running into a trap bench immediately, which ends up having Arena Trap. I can't escape and can't switch out, and Why-Not has 0 attacking moves. Oh no. Because dies to 1 faint attack. And oh man, that is not good for normal Jim. Our first death was a somewhat preventable one, but it didn't really occur to me at all. I was just focused on leveling up. I just chose the wrong place. While preparing for the next gym, I used our big CM on Balfour since neither in nor Playnall learn a better ground move than Mud Slap with 20 power by level up. What the hell, man? We also have the soft stand icon, which should give it a good boost too. While grinding, Violet also ends up evolving into a Gardevoir at level 30 just before the level cap is level 31. Good time. Now for Norman's gym, I actually can't level up too much. Looking forward, the next level cap is 33 for the Forestry Gym, and that's a good ways away from here. Level 30 is where I'm going to teach all of our Pokemon for the battle and hope for the best. Now I spent a long while studying Norman's team and trying to formulate a strategy, but I've got to tell you, I was not feeling very confident. I decided to lead with Kadabra against his first Slacking so we could set up Reflect right away. Immediately, Slacking goes for Facade, but I put more Berry on Kadabra so we get right up to half health. On Slacking's true return, where it looks around, I decided to go for Recover to heal us back to full. Now that Reflect is up, I switch to Gardevoir, but Slacking goes for Yawn right away, unfortunately. This does allow me a turn to get up a Calm Mind before falling asleep, though. Amazingly, Slacking goes for Yawn yet again while we were asleep, but our Reflect wears off. Eventually, we wake up and get another Calm Mind off, but Slacking hits us with Yawn yet again. I decide to go for the Psychic, but it just barely doesn't take that thing out, even after all the Calm Minds that Norman uses the Hyper Potion. We fail to wake up multiple times, and Slacking does huge damage to us with Facade. Our Orange Berry brings us right to half. We need to wake up on this turn, and we do. This time, Psychic kills, maybe due to a Hydro. In comes Vigoroth, and this is what we needed the Calm Minds for. Vigoroth isn't hindered by Truant after all, so we need to take it out in 1 hit. His second Slacking comes out, and Gardevoir is too hurt, so I switch to Beyblade as a pivot, and he barely survives. Now comes another part of the strategy. Since Slacking can only attack once every other turn, if we time it right, we use Dig so that for each one of his attacks, we're underground so he can never hit us. As you can imagine, this is a lengthy process, but it worked. Unfortunately, I just really wanted to put the Slacking in KO range for another one of our Pokemon so we don't activate a Hyper Potion, and I accidentally brought it into red, and Norman heals it up entirely. We only have 3 bigs left too. This is not good. With the Slacking at about 2/3 health, I managed to switch to the Atlas. I get up Reflect immediately, and this for Facade of all things, which brings us to 18 HP. My god. I realize I need to switch again, this time to Gardevoir. He goes for Facade, and thanks to Reflect, brings Violet down to just 12 HP, and he hit it with Psychic. This is gonna be close. On its next true turn, we go for psychic again, and amazingly enough, it does just enough to take it out. That was absolutely crazy. With no reflect, there is not a chance we could have done that. What kind of father traumatizes their kid like this? On our way back up towards Fortress City, I helped Watson out with whatever he's got going on, and he gives us Thunderbolt, which may come in handy later. And I also picked up Ice Beam from the advantage ship. Along the way, we also run into Steven, who says, in this vast world, there are many types of Pokemon. Do you raise different types, or do you only raise Pokemon of a certain type? Leave me alone, Steven. During our travels, Pokeballs in the Grumpy at level 32, which I'm really excited about. At the Weather Institute, we face Magma Acid Corgi, who has a Vicuna, a terrifying prospect for us, after which we get hit by Bite into KO range. Baltoy is also forced to switch after one dig, and unfortunately, Gardevoir doesn't have a move to hit Vicuna at all right now, nor does Grumpy. The only thing I can do is to go back into Kadabra again, and to get hit by Bite immediately, which does a bit under half. Vicuna hits us with Swagger though, we put ourselves in confusion, and then get hit by Bite, and that's it. Lucky the Kadabra goes down. The rest of our team is basically dead game 2, but now that Buffalo isn't confused, I get one dig off, but we're brought to 60. I switch into Grumpy next, and catch the Bite reasonably well, and I go for Confuse Ray on it. I then use Magic Coat, it snaps out of confusion and uses Swagger, which confuses it yet again since it just gets bounced back, and it KOs itself in confusion. My God, Lucky was an absolute hero to us, and losing Reflect is definitely not ideal. Rest well, my friend. I definitely need to teach Gardevoir and Thunderbolt. Immediately after, we have a surprise battle with May that I forgot about, but thankfully I healed in the bed at the Weather Institute, and we managed her pretty easily with a couple close calls on Gardevoir and Grumpy. On the bridge, we encounter Steven again, who says, "It's been a while." Really, Steven, has it? Because if I recall correctly, I just saw you 10 minutes ago at the start of this route. Now, leading into the gym, we have a big problem. All of our Pokemon are at level 33, and that's with avoiding like 90% of the trainers along the way, and we haven't even faced the gym trainers yet. The level cap also happens to be exactly 33. We need new encounters. So I press on all the way to the Safari Zone right beside Lilycove, which thankfully is accessible to us. But they want us to have a Pokeblock case, which we forgot to get in Slinkport. So we have to go all the way there and back again on foot while avoiding all of the trainers. Dear Lord. Just like in Fire Red, due to the low capture rate, we're saying that each new area in the Safari Zone allows new encounters. And in Area 1, we can get a Natu and successfully catch it at human Zylo. In Area 2, we find a Giraffary, but unfortunately, we actually failed to catch it. That's not good, especially given our low encounter of potential psychic types at the beginning. My plans for the future involve having a normal type, which could have also been great for our secret powers again. Well, at least Natu allows our levels not to be too high. Natu evolves immediately to Xatu at the next level and is able to take out most of the trainers in the gym. With Xatu at level 32 and everyone else at level 33, we make it in the nick of time to Winona. I lead with Gardevoir against Winona's Swallow, and despite a couple of double team attempts, he goes down to Thunderbolt. However, with its 4 times electric weakness, it is of course an easy KO. Starmie suffers the same fate as well. And oh man, thank God for Thunderbolt here. Altaria comes out and we can't do a whole lot to it with Gardevoir, so I send in Solrock. Now Solrock is honestly probably the single best Pokemon you can use here, as Altaria can effectively do nothing to it. It keeps Dragon Dancing repeatedly, but we resist everything it can throw at us, and Dragon type moves are special anyway. A few Rock Throws are able to do the job after a few Hyper Potions on her side, and this system with one Dragon Breath with just less than half plus the Paralysis. Wow, that's an easy gym battle. That's a first. Making our way to Lilycove City, we can swap off and now hire for our next and final psychic encounter. Yet a meta type, which is only available in group. We successfully catch one of its savior, since I legitimately think having fighting type coverage might be what makes the end of the challenge possible in the first place. On our way through the mountain, Baltoy finally evolves and is turned into the ultimate Pokemon. Nice and jealous, man. While making our way to the Team Magma Base to get our final evolution, and Meditite evolves into Medicham. With sheer power, this thing is an absolute monster, and we finally have a great way to counter dark types after all this time. We do have to watch out with high jump kick though, as it only has 9% accuracy, and missing causes massive recoil. Those of you who watch our streams on Twitch know what this could do to a run, such as the one that we've been doing lately.
Jump kick.
After arriving in Mossbeat, it's time to take on the 7th gym. This gym is kind of interesting since it has the same type as us. Although we can't do huge damage against anything except with our secondary typings, they also can't really do huge damage against us, so it's an interesting dynamic. But we make it through with only a couple close calls. Tate and Liza, on the other hand, are a bit different. It's going to be very hard for us to take their Soul Rock and Lunatone down, especially given that they both have Levitate, and their only weaknesses are types that we don't have, such as Grass, Dark, and Water. We also have to stay considerably under-leveled since the final gym's level cap is only one level higher than this one at 43. I decide to lead with Medicham and Zatu. Medicham has a secondary attack, and Violet has the early version, which is seriously faster because I know Lunatone will want to use Hypnosis. I decided to try and take the Lunatone out first since it has Light Stream and Calm. That sheet does very little, so Rock uses Medicham with Psychic and Lunatone hits it with Hypnosis, but our Testovary activates and allows us to hit it with High Jump Kick. But Lunatone barely survives. They then use a Hyper Potion on Lunatone, and Sunny Day is activated. Our next High Jump Kick then misses, causing huge recoil on Medicham. Not good. I switch Medicham out for Gardevoir and continue with the next shades to Zaku. Sunburst deflects the Aura and Psychic from them, brings Zaku into the red, so I go for Psychic from Gardevoir onto Lunatone and switch Zaku out for Grumpy. Lunatone survives yet again, and our Grumpy switch was great since Flamethrower was resisted due to Big Bang. However, Psychic gets a critical hit on us, and Grumpy is now below half. Another Hyper Potion brings Lunatone back to full, and we bring it below half with 2 Psychics. Grumpy is now within KO range, but I decide to steal speed to try and just KO Lunatone with 2 Psychics, and thankfully a last-minute crit kills what we wouldn't have otherwise. Grumpy survives another Flamethrower in the red, and I realize we'll need to power up to take down his Soul Rock, so I can use Calm Mind on Gardevoir and switch it to Claydol on Grumpy. Soul Rock then starts charging up a Solar Beam, so I actually use His here, even though it has Levitate, merely so it can't hit Claydol if that's the one it went for, and it usually was. This allows us to take out the Soul Rock in a few more turns after a Hyper Potion. Wow. With that being, that was game over for at least one of our Pokemon, probably more. Our team got hurt bad there, but we pulled through for the dash. One last battle with Max is pulled off relatively easily now that we have Thunderbolts on Gardevoir, although Crobat did get a crit on Gardevoir and almost took it out in one hit while it was confused. But we broke out and KO'd it with Psychic. Our Beyblade is a perfect counter for Camera, so we finish him off nicely. Groudon awakens and attacks us, but with the power of love, friendship, and idiocy, we defeat the almighty Landlord, or Lord of the Land. I suppose that looks better. Before the final gym, I'm actually forced to deposit Soul Rock since we need Surf to get to the damn gym in the first place, so we have to bring one of our HM slates. That's unfortunate, although Soul Rock will definitely be the least useful one here. Since we got the break TM in Sootopolis, I finally used the Medicham as a secondary saver option. I spent a lot of time studying Wallace's team as well, and he starts off with a Love Disc, so I leave Gardevoir. It would be nice to load up Calm Minds here, but since Gardevoir is male, it can actually get attracted by Love Disc, so we don't want to risk that, in addition to confusion and whatnot. I go for Thunderbolt immediately, which KOs it in one hit. Next comes Whiscash, which is a bit unfortunate due to its ground typing, but I go for Psychic and it does over half. Whiscash then uses Amnesia, and I know our Psychic won't be able to kill now, and will probably trigger a Hyper Potion use, so I preemptively switch it to Medicham since we need a physical move now. And Medicham gets hit hard by Earthquake. I go for Brick Break though, and it does indeed KO. Celio comes out next and is a super effective one-hit with Brick Break. Next comes Seaking, and it survives Brick Break and goes for Rain Dance, which activates its ability, making it faster than us, but thankfully it misses Horn Drill. Dear God, that would have been bad. Wallace next sends out his last Pokemon, Milotic, who hits us with a rain-boosted Water Pulse, and we survive on literally 1 HP. Holy I have to switch now, so I go to Gardevoir, and thankfully it just uses Twister on the switch. Thunderbolt brings it into the red, and Water Pulse hits us below half, but doesn't confuse. Wallace uses a Hyper Potion, and we hit again with Thunderbolt with just less than half, but another brings it back into the red. Milotic then begins to stand recover like crazy, and is actually gaining health over time. Eventually it goes for Water Pulse, and confuses us, meaning it's not safe to stay in anymore. I switch in Grumpy, and 2 Water Pulses brings us back. This also triggers yet another Hyper Potion use, exactly what we didn't want, and Grumpy takes its own confusion. I do land a Confuse Ray though, but we get a KO range after another Water Pulse. I switch in Claydol, hoping for a confusion hit, but it takes us with another Water Pulse, and gets another breakthrough confusion for the Ice Beam, which brings us to 3 HP. My god, this is insane. Zaku is basically our last hope here, and I'm hoping for the at least get a chance to pivot safely, but literally everything is almost dead. I decide I have to go for it. The combine. With increased special defense, we survive waterfalls on PvP, don't get confused, and bam! Thunderbolt barely takes that damn thing out in one hit. That was ridiculous beyond words. It's gym magic wired, but at the cost of our beloved ancient hieroglyph bird thing. Only 5 Pokemon left. Victory Road is a mess as per usual, but we make it through all these battles safely, and just when I thought it would be an easy one, I realized Gardevoir was out of sight power points, so we had to use Thunderbolt against Berselia, which doesn't go well. Gardevoir gets down to 12 HP after poison damage, but thankfully the rest of our team is able to pull through to the win thanks to Solrock against Altaria, Medicham against Megaton and Delcatty, and Claydol against Gardevoir. With that, we've made it to the Hoenn Pokemon League. After a lot of preparations, such as finally harvesting my citrus berry farm, finding TMs in the game corner, getting a couple items such as the Hearthstone for so long, and grinding our Pokemon, we're ready to take on the Elite Four. Or at least I hope we are. But who knows? Since the last Elite Four member Drake has an ace level of 55, that's what I use as our level cap before him, so I get our Pokemon all up to level 54, which I think should be safe. It's time. Let's do it. Sydney is up first, and he was one of the Elite Four members I was fearing the most. I lead Gardevoir against Magina so that Intimidate doesn't affect us, and Thunderbolt does great damage, but I know since he's in the red, he gives the full restore, and he lowered our accuracy, so I decide now's the time to switch into Medicham. From here, it is a literal one-hit KO of every single one of his Pokemon with super effective stab, pure power brick break, only getting hurt by rough skin and one big hit. This is exactly why I wanted Meditite so badly. It was our one answer to Sydney's team. A great start, let's keep it up. Next up is Phoebe, the Ghost type Elite Foreman. She also scares me a lot since Ghost is super effective against us, but we're only neutral against them offensively. I lead with Gardevoir against her Dusclops, and knowing Ghost is physical, I still go for top line since I know we need more offensive power with Psychic and a neutral move. We get hit hard by Shadow Punch to a bit above half, but then we can once KO us with Psychic. After top line, the same goes for her two Banettes as well. When then, she sends in her level 51 Dusclops. I go for Psychic again, but it doesn't even kill after a top line, and this one has Shadow Ball instead of Shadow Punch, so it's even more powerful and takes out Violet, our starter Pokemon. Honestly, switching anything into that would have been a great mistake. We had to. Welcome everyone, my name is Phil, and this is my attempt to be a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Platinum with only fighting-type Pokemon. If you've seen our challenges, you know the rules, and you can check below the video for a more detailed list, but put simply, only the first fighting-type encounter in a given route or area can be caught, no duplicates and no legendaries. If the Pokemon faints, it must be permanently bought. No items except Helllanders in battle. Party Pokemon levels are limited to the next gym leader or Elite Four's apes, and finally the battle mode must be put on set at all times. With that said, what exactly does Platinum have to offer in terms of fighting types? Well, it's a bit of a complicated question. In theory, these are all the fully evolved fighting types that would be available for us. One problem is that we can't give a chance since the hardcore Nuzlocke rules don't allow us to connect with other games. Maybe we're stuck with the choke there. There are two other really interesting situations when it comes to these encounters, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. With 7 total potential encounters, this is one of the more limited monotype challenges for sure, which should prove challenging, but for many reasons, you'll see I'm excited for it. If you haven't already, make sure to come along for the journey by hitting that subscribe button, as most viewers of this series aren't subscribed, since it might just slip their mind, but it really does help. Let's do this. Now, I think it's obvious what starter we'll be choosing here, the absolute legend, Turtwig. Alright, fine, we'll take Chimchar. As for our other challenges, we're allowed to use our starter until the very first possible moment we can get a Pokemon of the right typing, after which the starter must be lost. Chimchar does get the fighting type upon evolution, but since we won't actually be able to use it in battle, we'll have to wait until we get the XP share to evolve it. Our Chimchar ends up having an impish nature, which is plus defense and minus special attack. Infernape is kind of of a mixed attacker, so this isn't fantastic, but definitely not the worst we could have gotten either. I think some are hotheads, but as I was playing through the intro, I was like, something looks off here. It wasn't until I saw another E, the letter E6, that I realized I typed hot cow. Let me fix that real quick. Our rival battle goes on smoothly, and right after this is the first time we can get access to a fighting-type Pokemon by going straight through Orberg and north to the patch of grass on Route 207, where we can find a shop. We catch one and name it Brian. Mr. Brian here has a docile nature which is neutral, and I'm totally fine with that. And he also has the Guts ability, which increases his attack power if he has a status needed. Personally, I'm a big fan of No Guard, which means his attacks can't miss, which works great in combination with Dynamic Punch and Stone Edge, but Guts can definitely be useful too if you find a way to set it up safely. After this, we're forced to the positive 2-star, but I'm sure we'll see him again soon. While grinding Machop, he learns to run Chop, which is a 60 power move with a high critical hit ratio too. Not bad at all. Once we're level 13, I decided to accept the first gym. Now, despite the fact that we only have one Pokemon, I'm feeling quite confident for this gym. Not only are we super effective against everything in it, but we've also got a pretty easy defense stat too. The gym trainers are a breeze, and it's time for our first gym leader, Rourke. Even though another challenge run with Jetbug on that Twitch at the moment, I always get nervous heading into Rourke, but this time it feels real good to finally stand a chance. Geodude survives a karate chop and hits us with Rock Throw, after which Rourke uses a potion to take him out with 2 more hits. He next sends in Cranidos, which goes for Pursuit for some reason, even though we resisted, and he has a perfectly good headbutt move. Strange. And he gets thrown out of there with another karate chop. Onyx comes in, and we also have Logan, which does more damage based on how heavy the opponent is. So Onyx being a big boy and taking his downfall. Man, does it ever feel strange being able to beat Rourke so easily. Let's get back acquired. While leading Jubilife, we run into Mystery Man, who ends up threatening Dark's life. Professor Rowan just does not give an absolute and proceeds to literally enumerate all the things that are wrong with this dude. This one is getting absolutely roasted. He will never be the same again. While in Floroma Town, I'm reminded that one of the great difficulties we're likely to have during this run is the honey tree. You see, one of our potential encounters, Heracross, can only be found in these trees, and it's like a 1% chance of being found in them. Honey trees only produce a Pokemon once every 6 actual playtime hours too. No, adjusting your game clock does nothing. So this is a great prospect. Honey trees are a ridiculously complicated thing, but basically 4 trees in the entire region are what's called a Munchlax tree, where, yes, Munchlax can be found, but it also increases the odds of finding other rare Pokemon like Deepom and Heracross up to about 5%. There are online tools where you can use your trainer ID to find 2 of your Munchlax trees, and amazingly, ours ends up being the first and third trees you can find. My strategy is just to put honey on every tree I find and hope for the best throughout the run. At the Valley Woodworks, we had a scary battle against Commander Mars, and one that I had lost in a previous attempt at this run. This time, I decided to pick a Roxanne GM from the Ravage Path and pick a Brian ahead of time. This is because he starts off with a Zubat, which is super annoying and he doesn't damage much at all. This time, he hits us with Bite and clinches us twice in a row. Yikes. But then she goes for Toxic, which, now that we actually have a move that can hurt it, is fantastic since it activates our Guts ability. This allows us to take it out with Roxanne. It becomes her corruptly, which is actually a terrifyingly fast and powerful Pokemon, and hits us with Takeout immediately, which combined with Toxic brings us below half. She then outspeeds and goes for Scratch, which brings us to 12 HP, after which we can take it out with a stab super effective Guts